Alright, thank you everybody for coming tonight and being part of my audience. My name is Craig Collins and I'm giving a persuasive speech titled College Athletes Pay for Play. Now the handout you have in front of you is from ncaa.org, and that website talks about standards, regulations, things about the college world. But the sheet you have is probability of competing beyond high school. Now, as you can see from the hundreds of thousands and even some of the millions, depending on the sport you're looking at, the high school student athletes, the percentage from going from high school to professional ranks is 0.03, 0.07, 0.09, things of that nature. The numbers are very small, and it's a little scary that we put so much emphasis on sports and athletics over education these days. Now, I personally believe that student athletes should not be paid to play college sports because it sends the wrong message about why they're there in the first place. They are student athletes, and on top of that, the pay-for-play scenario is seemingly impossible to manage in a fair and organized way. Now, athletes have their ways paved for them in some of the most prestigious schools throughout the entire country that the regular, ordinary population has no chance of getting into. And beyond these paved ways, these students get free tuition, free room and board, and they get other things as well about fame, TV time, and the opportunity to go play college ball once they graduate, and that is actually their job and they can now be paid to play. Now, a big argument that's used today is trying to legally prove college athletes are employees of the university. But according to Jerry M. Hunter, who is a former general counsel of the National Labor Relations Board and served under President George W. Bush, he was quoted in a 2011 article, "Should college athletes be paid to play?" He said, "I think that neither the National Labor Relations Act nor common law supports the position that student athletes are employees." Now that, and on top of the same article, Tommy Amaker, who was a basketball star at the Duke University, he says that he never felt like an employee at the university. He understood that his education was being paid for while he got to be at a great institution, and the thing about that is I also played college sports. I understand how hard it is, I understand the demand on your time, and I understand at times it can seem like a job. Because whenever your friends go home after class on Friday nights and get to go party or do whatever they do, you have to go to practice and then film and then go watch more film. Alright? But the thing is, I never felt like it was a employee type of situation either. So the next thing is that if the issue of paying college athletes is not of greed and is actually a concern for the welfare and livelihood of the athletes, then, quoting this article one more time, should college athletes be paid to play? Willie Hicks Jr. was the first black quarterback at Boston College, and he came up with a solution that things should be worked out maybe by giving the athletes a stipend or a money allotment. Now, maybe that could be a solution if the pay-for-play issue continues, but the things these athletes realize, and hopefully the rest of the country starts to realize, is that we do not need to make this an issue of paying athletes and giving them a salary, making the focus be on everything but education. Alright? Now, we looked at college athletes are not employees, and the next issue we really need to look at is at the money itself. In a 2014 newspaper article, "Privilege Not Job, College Athletes Shouldn't Be Paid" by Kate Murphy, who's writing for The Pendulum, and that is Elon's University student news organization, she comes right out and says that most schools can't afford it. And she backs this up with statistics from 2013, and she says that 23 of 228 athletic departments could afford their own expenses. That means 205 athletic departments in 2013 couldn't pay for their own things. So where is this money going to come from that we pay these athletes with? And then you get into the things of what athletes should be paid how much. Should a superstar be paid more than their coaches? Should the superstar be paid X amount of dollars while the guy who never gets any playing time receives no pay? How do you divide that up evenly amongst the players? And the fact of the matter is that you cannot make it fair between the players you're trying to pay. And that is if your institution can't come up with the money at all, which we just looked at, most can't. These issues really lead into my last and final point I'd like to talk about, and that's the fact that education cannot have a price put on it because it's the foundation that these students should be relying on instead of focusing on money and a game. This last article we'll look at is titled "NFL on the Importance of Education" from the NCSA Athletic Recruiting website. It's by Eric Mitchell, and it talks about football in this article, but you can really replace football with any sport here, and it works just the same. But for the purposes, we'll look at just the football article here. Now, he states that players should value education and football equally. and that will make for much brighter futures when their playing days come to an end. Now, like the handout you have in front of you, Mitchell reiterates that most athletes aren't going to go professional sports. So the thing is, they have to focus on education, and that'll make their high school and college years go a lot more smoothly. I mean, we've all seen the athlete that decide to throw away his academics because they thought they were on the fast track to the pros. Well, then they get injured, and then they never get to play again, and then they can't read at the age of 21 years old. So do we really think we should reward this kind of behavior with, hey, on top of all the other benefits you're receiving, here's some money too. We're going to pay you a salary. It just doesn't make sense. All right? Now, Mitchell also goes on to say that the best years of your life should not end at 35 to 40 years. All right? And with the 99.9% of people that don't make professional sports, then their careers end at about 18 to 22 years old. All right? And if you have a great education, then that's going to help prevent your best years being so young. All right? And the last and final thing is that Mitchell states that educating and instilling discipline in kids as young as possible will lead to better internalization of difficult concepts and build a strong foundation that will help you in life on and off the field. All right? And to kind of wrap things up, the 3 topics on why college athletes should not be paid. The first one is they're not employees at the university. All right? They're compensated more than enough with free education at some of the greatest schools across the country. The second thing is that the schools just simply can't afford it. Their staffs are severely underpaid, so how are we going to add on top of that player pay? All right? And the third and final thing is that education needs to be put back at the top of the priority list instead of worrying about a game and putting all our energy into a game and how much money this game can make me. All right? Now, I reiterate that it is crucial that student athletes should not be paid to play because it sends the wrong message about why they're there in the first place, and that is they're student athletes. And again, on top of the fact that pay for play is nearly impossible to make happen in a fair and organized manner. All right? And if you look at your sheets one last time, with the percentage of kids leaving high school and eventually making it to the pros, and all these major sports combined, is less than 0.10%. That means we have to instill discipline and the desire of education above all else, so today's youth can have bright, successful futures after their playing careers come to an inevitable end. Thank you.